£500 for the accommodation. Well, I philosophized, it takes all kinds to make a world, and who am I to say this illicit trafficker isn't doing as much good in his way as I in mine? I don't know when my nausea finally left me, unless it was after nothing whatever remained in my stomach. I sat limp and cold, conscious only of the erratic bobbing of the little vessel and the ceaseless rhythm of the oars. At last, unbelievably, the sky turned from black to gray. I could not believe it anything but an optical illusion in the endless night, and I strained to dissipate whatever biliousness was affecting my vision. But it was dawn, sure enough, and soon it revealed the pettish, wallowing channel and the fragile outline of our boat, even tinier than I had conceived. I shuddered with more than cold. Had I known what a cockle-shell it was, I might have paused before trusting my life so readily to it. Line by line, the increasing light drew the countenance of my guide. At first he was nothing but a shape, well muffled, with some kind of flat cap upon his head. A little more light revealed a glittering eye. More, a great hooked nose with wide nostrils. He was a man of uncertain age, bordering upon the elderly, with a black skull cap under which curled outward two silvery gray horns of hair. The lower part of his face was covered with a grizzled beard. He must have been studying me as intently, for he now broke the silence which had prevailed all night. "You are not a poor man," he announced accusingly. "How is it you have waited so long?" "I'm afraid you've made a mistake in me, my friend," I told him jovially. "We shan't be making an illegal entry. I am resident in England and can come home at any time." He was silent. From disappointment, I concluded. "Never mind. I'll pay you as much as a refugee, within reason." "You are a follower of reason, sir?" I tried hard to make out more of his still obscured face, for there was a note of irony in his voice. "I believe we'd all be better off if everyone were to accept things philosophically. Responsible people will find a way to end our troubles eventually, and in the meantime, madness and violence," I waved my hand to the French coast behind, "don't help at all." "Ah," he said, without pausing in his rowing. "Men alone, then, will solve man's problem." "Who else?" Who else, indeed? The smuggler's answer, or confirmation, or whatever the equivocal echo was, irritated me. "You think our problems can be solved from the outside?" He managed to shrug his shoulders without breaking the rhythm of his arms. "Perhaps my English is unequal to understanding what you mean by outside. All the forces I know are represented within." I was baffled, and switched the subject to more immediate themes. "Are we about halfway, do you think?" The light now exposed him fully. His hands were small, and I doubted if the arms extending from them were muscular, but he radiated an air of great vitality. His face was lined, his eyes fierce under outthrust eyebrows, his lips, where the crisp waves of his beard permitted them to show, stern, but his whole demeanor was not unkindly. "It is easy to measure how far we have come, but who can say how far we have to go?" This metaphysical double-talk annoyed me. "I don't know what is happening to people," I said. "Either they act like those over there," I gestured toward the Republic, one and indivisible, "or else they become mystics." "You find questions without immediate answers mystical, sir?" "I like my questions to be susceptible to an answer of some kind." "You are a man of thought." It amused me to speak intimately to this stranger. I have lived inside myself a great many years. Naturally, my mind has not been idle all the while. "You have not married?" "I never had the time." "Ah." He rowed quietly for some moments. "Never had the time," he repeated thoughtfully. "You think marriage is important?" "A man without children disowns his parents." Sounds like a proverb. It is not, just an observation. I suppose since you have not had the time to marry, you have devoted your life to good works. I have given employment to many and help to the pauperized. It is commanded to be charitable. I have given millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of pounds, to philanthropies. Anonymously, of course. You must be a godly man, sir. I am an agnostic. I do not know if there is such a thing. He shook his head. Beneath us there are fish who do not know it is the sea in which they swim. Above us there are birds unaware of the reaches of the sky. The fish have no conception of sky. The birds know nothing of the deep. They are agnostics also. Well, it doesn't seem to do them any harm. Fishes continue to spawn and birds to nest without the benefits of esoteric knowledge. Exactly. Fish remain fish in happy ignorance. Doubt does not cause a bird to falter in its flight. The sun was pushed into the air from the waters as a ball is pushed by the thumb and forefinger. The chalk cliffs were outlined ahead of me, and I calculated we had little more than an hour to go. "You have chosen a strange way of earning a living, my friend," I ventured at last. "Upon some is laid the yoke of the law. Others depend upon the sun for light," he said. "Perhaps, like yourself, I have committed some great sin, and am expiating it in this manner." "I don't know what you mean. I am conscious of no sin, if I understand the meaning of the theological term." "We have trespassed," he murmured dreamily. "We have been faithless. We have robbed. We have spoken basely. We have committed iniquity. We have wrought unrighteousness. Since the rational world discarded the superstitions of religion half a century ago," I said, "we have learned that good and evil are relative terms, without meaning, actually." For the first time, he suspended his oars, and the boat wallowed crazily. "Excuse me," he resumed his exertions. "Good is evil sometimes, and evil is good upon occasion?" "It depends on circumstances and the point of view. What is beneficial at one time and place may be detrimental under other circumstances." "Ah, green is green today, but it was yellow yesterday and will be blue tomorrow." Even such an exaggeration could be defended. However, that was not my meaning. "We have wrought unrighteousness, we have been presumptuous, we have done violence, we have forged lies, we have counseled evil, we have lied, we have scoffed, we have revolted, we have blasphemed, we have been rebellious, we have acted perversely, we have transgressed, we have persecuted." "Perhaps you have," I interrupted with some asperity, "but I don't belong in that category. Far from persecuting, I have always believed in tolerance. Live and let live, I always say. People can't help the color of their skins or the race they were born into. And if they could, they would naturally choose to be white North European Gentiles. Why should anyone voluntarily embrace a status of inconvenience? Why, indeed? We have persecuted, we have been stiff-necked. We have done wickedly, we have corrupted ourselves, we have committed abominations, we have gone astray, and we have led astray." We both fell silent after this catalogue, quite inapplicable to this situation, and it was with heartfelt thanks I distinguished each fault and seam in the Dover cliffs, as well as the breaking line of surf below. I presumed, because of what I'd said about legal entry, he was not avoiding the Coast Guard, but with a practiced oar he suddenly veered and drove us onto a minute sandy beach at the foot of the cliffs, obviously unfrequented and probably unknown to officialdom. A narrow, yet clearly defined path led upward. This was evidently his customary haven. Were I an emotional man, I would have kissed the little strip of shingle. As it was, I contented myself with a deep sigh of thanksgiving.